So anyway, folks, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into Radio Graffiti!
GOATED Movies is a new segment I'm going to be doing where I basically talk about movies that I feel are GOATED. Now, for those of you who don't know what GOATED means, it basically means like greatest of all time, as in these are movies I see as the greatest of all time. The purpose of this is basically just to raise attention to some movies I feel like is just some of the best of all time, because, not every movie is amazing, not every movie, you can even remember like that after you watch it the first time, so I had to do this to kind of raise attention to the ones that stood above and beyond from the other movies, and in my opinion, are some of the greatest movies of all time. So, let's go and get into it. And for my first video, I'm going to be doing it on, as you can tell by the title, Baby Driver. Now, Baby Driver is a movie that came out all the way back in 2017. I say that as if that's been a long time ago or something. But yeah, Baby Driver has just been one of those movies ever since I've seen it. I just love Baby Driver. I've seen it, I can't even count how many times I've seen it now. If I had to guess, I'd say maybe 20, 25 times now, maybe? If not more, I've seen Baby Driver in a span within 3 years. Now, why do I love Baby Driver so much? Well, I'm glad you asked, because in this video, I'm going to explain why I love Baby Driver so much. So, let's go and get into that shit right now, shall we? First of all, I feel like the most important thing to talk about in this movie is the amazing soundtrack it has, which is crazy coming from somebody like me who's, probably not in the demographic that would usually listen to this kind of music. So, the fact that Edgar Wright could put this soundtrack in the movie and that I actually like it is pretty crazy to me. Because, I wouldn't listen to some shit like this if it weren't for this movie. I'm 22 years old? I would not listen to music like this. This is stuff for, older people, 30, 40 range. So the fact that I listened to this music in here and I didn't think it was complete dog shit speaks a lot. I swear to God, I actually bought the CD for this movie, and every time I put it in, I just feel like I want to do is the craziest fucking stunts. I just want to start doing donuts and just driving like Baby does in this movie. Basically, it just really pumps you up and gets you going. I think he did a really good job at the soundtrack in this movie. It's not just feels like a bunch of random songs, Well, it is a bunch of random songs because it's on Baby's, little iPod he's got, but it works for the movie and all the scenes that he's got him in. He even makes, songs that will not be intimidating at all, in the movie where Baby goes to Deborah at the end and then Buddy's there waiting for them with a gun under the magazine. And that song they play there, oh baby, that song? That's a pretty intimidating song. It makes the scene really intense, and it's like a love song, so it's crazy how he can insert the perfect song to make it so intense and feel out what the scene needs to do. So I thought he did a really good job with the soundtrack. It's gotta be one of the best I've ever seen. So it really fits with the movie, it really flows with the movie. The movie kind of feels like a musical at certain points. I feel like it really gives it some style. Which is another thing about it. It's a very stylish film. From the way it's shot, you don't see movies like this usually. I mean, a lot of times it's just boring shot, boring camera angles, it's basic. Here you get long shots. For example, when Baby goes to get coffee for the crew in the beginning. I think it's kind of like a musical, the way Baby has to move to the music and then everything's in sync, which I think is very unique. I don't think I've ever seen a movie before where everything is in sync, especially the action. The action scene where Batch has a shootout with those guys, the quote-unquote crooked cops that he ended up firing on because he suspected them. Even that action scene is unique because it's just, boom, 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 and it's in sync with the music, which is something I've never seen before in action scenes. Usually they just put some Hans Zimmer kind of music in the background and then have the action play out, which there's nothing wrong with that too, but this is something unique and special, which is why stuff like this, small stuff like this, gets movies GOATED, in my opinion. Greatest of all time kind of shit right here. Speaking of the action, I think it's absolutely incredible here. Baby is very believable behind the wheel. I never once think, this is some kind of stunt driver. It's so obvious. It's not like the Fast and Furious films where it's just completely over the top. The action feels very realistic in this movie when you see Baby Driver just swerving everywhere. The way he gets away from the cops, the way they always have a getaway to go to. It's just intense every time the action gets going. I never get bored. I never say, "Oh, they could have done this better." I think the action's pretty great in this film. The costume design's great in this movie. The cast is fantastic. I mean, you got John Hillman here, you got John Bernthal, Kevin Spacey, Jamie Foxx, and yeah, I did say Kevin Spacey. I know it's cool to hate on Kevin Spacey, but unlike other people, I can separate the artist from the art, and he did this movie anyway, way before all that shit came out about him, so I can separate how Kevin Spacey is in his, normal life to how he is in movies, which a lot of people can't seem to do. I'm not saying I like Kevin Spacey or anything. I'm just saying in this movie I think he did a good job. And he's still a pretty big actor. I mean, look how long he's been acting and how big he is. I think all the costume designs are great in this movie, as in how all the characters kind of have their own little colors, like how Deborah and Baby are in black and white, showing that, they're kind of in the gray area, where everyone else has, like, certain colors, like Buddy blue, Bat's red, and then Darling's going around in a thick pink jacket or whatever that kind of shit is. I don't know what kind of jacket you call that stuff where it's like on the shoulders. It is pretty unique the way he's got all the characters dressed, and everyone feels different from the other. It's also very fast paced. I mean, it's not even 2 hours long, and it just like zooms by. It's also extremely funny if you ask me, considering it's got so many intense scenes in the movie. They always find a way to kind of make it a little funny, whether it be when Sam and Baby go in there to check out how many cameras are in there, how many employees, and all that, and then Sam, without even seeming like he looks, already knows the answer to all the questions that Doc has, which I thought was pretty funny. I also love the part where Bats steals all the gum. He asks Buddy if he wants some gum, then he goes in the gas station and he basically just takes the whole box, all the boxes on the shelf, and just shoves it in the car. I thought that was pretty unexpected and shows how much of a crazy character Bats is. He's also pretty unpredictable, which I thought is in, Jamie Foxx's favor. I heard some complaints that Jamie Foxx, he didn't seem like he was actually a villain role. I don't agree with that. I thought he did a pretty good job in this movie. He definitely passed it off as a extremely crazy character who's been through some really weird shit. It also does a really great job of giving you sudden things about our characters, but you have to pay attention to it. What do you mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is, for example, Batch just all of a sudden saying, "I have a kid." He mentions that twice in the movie, that he has a child, which I think is a pretty good. They do it in such a clever way, if you ask me. Like when the woman gets out and she says, "I have a child," and he says, "I do too." That kind of gives a little bit of character to Bats, if you ask me, because now you realize, oh hey, he's doing this for his child. He gets into all this crazy shit. I mean, he gets it for himself too, but you see he's got a mouth to feed at home, which he mentions in the diner scene, which is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie, is when Bats, Darling, and Buddy all team up. That's when the movie gets really good, if you ask me. That's when it just goes to a whole nother level, when it's Darling, Buddy, and Bats, and they're going on this little drive, and then they go into the diner, and Deborah and Baby have a connection, and it's just like, what's gonna happen? Is Bats gonna kill her? How's Baby gonna get out of this? He's stuck with these people who are fucking criminals and crazy. How's he gonna get out of there? The movie also reveals the real names of our characters, whether it be Monica Costello, Jason Van Horn, Leon Jefferson, and Miles, which is pretty, again, something very unique that the movie does that you wouldn't see usually in other movies, where they just kind of reveal it in the background on the TV, which really gets us to know our characters a little better. You also see why Baby likes the diner, because of sudden little dialogue where the waitress mentions, "Oh yeah, I think his mom used to work here," which is very emotional when you see what happens to Baby's parents. They die when he's younger in a car crash. The husband apparently was abusive towards his wife, and then scream in the car one day, and boom, die in a car wreck. And then you see Baby goes to the diner, and he just kind of misses his mom, which I think is very sweet and shows more Baby's character, how much he misses his family. You also gotta love the foreshadowing that they do, whether it be the TV or when Doc is explaining the plan, how it's gonna lay out for their final heist, and then Baby drops the car, and everybody turns around. I really love that scene because it shows the foreshadowing of what's going to come. It shows that this is the one that's going to go wrong. When Baby drops the car, that means it's going to go to shit. I don't know why. I just love little stuff like that really makes you catch it the second time. You're like, oh, I get it. I see why Edgar Wright did that. Baby drops the car, as in, this is the one where Baby finally says, I've had enough, and he ruins the heist. Something else I really love that the movie does is they have everything sort of come full circle with Baby's tapes. Around the end, when everyone catches Baby, you know, he's recording people and stuff, and then he tries to escape. And you're wondering the whole movie, like, why is he recording stuff? You know, what's this going to lead to in the movie? And then they bring him in there and they, you know, show all his tapes. And then he starts playing all of them and you realize, okay, now it's starting to make sense. So I guess it's a good thing he did that, or else he would have gotten in trouble. And they probably wouldn't have let him go. Or there'd be the tapes from Deborah, where the crew learns, oh, Baby does know that waitress from the diner. And then it really gets them into a hole they digs himself. Or whether it be when he records John Berthal's character when he's saying, you know, is he retarded? And then Doc says, he doesn't seem like retarded to me. Is he, you know, was he slow? So yeah, just little stuff like that for me just makes this movie goated. And then not all of it's even little stuff. A lot of it's the big stuff, like I mentioned. But yeah, I do have some negatives with the film, unfortunately, but not really anything worth mentioning. Some of them, but probably my biggest gripe with the movie would be Baby and Deborah's chemistry. I don't really know if it's there and if it's that believable, because it's like Baby just kind of goes in and then Deborah shows up to his table and they're just like so chitty chatty. Like this woman is just all over Baby. She's just like asking him a million questions. Just comes up to his table and she's just like, "Oh hey, you're recording me? Oh, you're really cute. Oh, you come here a lot?" You know, just interviewing him basically. When she's just supposed to be asking him what he wants to eat, and it's just like, I mean, I get it. It's a movie. They're supposed to do that to kind of get Baby to talk because he's sort of a quiet character and he's the main character. So we need to get these two to hook up. But you know, Baby don't talk like that. Baby doesn't really talk all that much, so how are they gonna get these two to start, you know, hooking up? And then Deborah comes over and she's just very chitty chatty every time. She's just interviewing this guy and she's just so into him. And it's a bit much, honestly. It's not very believable either. So I don't think they did the best job with that. I mean, it works for the movie, but if I just had a complaint, I'd say I don't think their romance was really all that developed, and I don't really get why they didn't really like each other like that. Besides the whole, you know, oh you're hot kind of thing. All of a sudden, she meets this guy and she's already willing to just drive with him and go anywhere he wants to go. Like, she doesn't even know this kid. So I just thought that was very strange. And some of the stuff with Baby, you know, being silly with his, I guess, adopted father, Joe, I thought it was kind of, I mean, it was good. It was just kind of a little silly sometimes. And I was like, okay, can we get back to the cool high stuff? I'm not saying it, like, sucked or anything. It's just, like, I feel like we could have done a little better with that. And I don't know. Sometimes it could just be a little cringy, to be honest with you. It's just them making Baby look like a good character, so you know this kid. Oh, he's a good kid, and he's stuck with all these criminals. You know, he's a good one in here. He doesn't belong in this world. It's just like, okay, Edgar Wright, we get it. You don't have to show us scenes of Baby just dancing around, singing to all these records. And really, I feel like the whole, well, I'd say the whole first act can be a little slow. That's coming from somebody who's seen this though multiple times. So when you first watch it, it's not so bad. But when you go to rewatch it, you start to notice, okay, it kind of drags a little bit when they get it going. I mean, the heists are just fine; they're pretty standard. But I don't know. It seems like it kind of drags a little bit in the first act. My favorite is when, like I said, when Bat, Starling, and Buddy, all of them get together and they start going on their little adventures. That for me is when the movie really spikes. Because if it was just like the first act, the entire movie, I don't know if I would have this goated, to be honest with you. But when Eiza Gonzalez, John Hamm, Jamie Foxx get with Ansel Elgort's character, I feel like the movie just starts getting to a whole nother level. But yeah, and that is my reasons why I feel like Baby Driver is a goated movie. Feel free to disagree with me in the comment section or agree with me. Hopefully a lot of you agree with me. If you haven't seen this movie, definitely should check it out. It's like my favorite movie of 2017, to be quite honest with you. I would definitely recommend you check out Baby Driver. And yeah, stay tuned. I'll be doing more of goated movies. And please keep in mind, this is only my opinion. I'm not saying you're wrong if you hate this movie. You know, you're free to have your opinion. I'm free to have mine. I'm just using this segment and this channel to sort of express my opinion on whether it be film or TV show characters, whatever the case may be. I'm just using it to express my opinion. We're all going to have different opinions here, so if you didn't like the movie, feel free to tell me why in the comment section below.